Welcome everyone back to another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. My name is D-Free. Here today, in this video, we are going to go ahead and do a little bit of a comparison between this unit and this unit. Of course, well, this unit, but all of them, right? So, anyways, hope you guys enjoy. Hit that subscribe if you find this information helpful. And otherwise, let's go ahead and talk about it. So I just want to point out in the very beginning, we're going to try to attack this from several different scenarios. It's not just a which one is definitively better. It's not just which one hits harder, which one is a better defensive unit, because there are blurred lines between these two units. And it's not just like, hey, which one subjectively, like I said, is the most damaging unit total. Like, it's not, because obviously that type of thing would tip way more in the favor of Vegeto. Let's just call it what it is. Vegeto hits a lot better on average than this Goku does, just by the nature of the way that unit is functioning, the passive, the increase, and all that stuff. So I wanted to kind of, like I said, attack it from different scenarios. We're also going to factor in some of the most recent calculations I was able to dig up over on the Reddit from Mobile Man. So, of course, shout out to Reddit. Shout out to Mobile Man as well. Otherwise, we're going to talk about all that stuff. And, of course, I know that there's some element to this where it's like, if you're listening, maybe you don't have the Goku, but you have the Vegeto. So, obviously, there isn't a comparison for you because you just don't have one right now. Maybe you don't have either, right? But hopefully, otherwise, you still kind of are able to pinpoint which one you would want to summon for, maybe a little bit more if you don't have either. I don't know. So hopefully. Otherwise, last little thing. Obviously, as you can tell, my opinion, don't shoot the messenger. If you don't agree, that's fair. Leave it in the comments as to why. Maybe we'll talk about it. So there's that. Anyways, so we have this guy, right? So I can tell you off the bat, for my testing with this unit, a lot of times I get here, maybe here if I'm pushing it. I very, very, very rarely get here. Now again, subjective, based on the player. You might have a very, I don't want to say crappy team, but if your team underperforms, you would have an easier time getting here, whether it's because of super attack levels being low, dupe investment being low, orb investment being low, whatever the reason, right? Maybe you have an easier time. But again, for the purpose of this video and every other video, again, I have to bring it from my experience, and also I try to factor in these units at a rainbow level just in general. So the more stars, the rainbow stars you have on your team, of course, the harder it is because you're clearing the content faster. Something like that applies to Vegeto as well, too, because when he's rainbow star, he hits harder, obviously, with each hit, so he's not able to really accumulate the attack the way that he wants to, so it's weird. But, again, rainbow stars inhibit types of things like getting deeper into transformations, etc., etc. Now, around this time, like I said, this is typically where I get to, on average, Super Saiyan 3, which it makes sense, it's the middle form, but around here is when he starts performing, you know, stat-wise like a normal Dokkan Fest unit. 100% is pretty generic as an attack boost. 40%, while it seems kind of low, is a good number when coupled with damage received reduction right here at 23%, which again, not the best, but these two together. And then, of course, the natural defensive stat, which would be over, 10,000 right here. So, like, stuff like that. Like, the unit should be performing very, very well. Not to mention that each super attack that this unit, and of course Vegeto does, by the way, they both have the same raises attack mechanic and immense damage, but each super that they do, this is a 20% increase. It's listed down here as to how it works, but I'm not going to explain it. 20% increase, so realistically, by the time you get here, maybe you've launched additional attacks or whatever, your defense is a lot higher than the passive skill would lead you to believe. So let's consider that as well. So obviously, like I said, looking at this unit, you're like, well, you have damage received reduction, you have a natural defense boost, you have a defense boost that would have continued through the forms because it does not reset through the forms. You make it here, you're still doing the same thing. Your defense naturally goes down, but it technically went up because you're launching supers probably and stuff like that. And then we get here, and all of a sudden, they no longer do any of that stuff. He does have the damage received reduction, and that coupled with the high stats and the stats that he would have accumulated from the super attacks prior is where he would get his defense from otherwise. But this unit is meant to be your finisher, which is why he gets the guaranteed max key and then the guaranteed critical hit one time only. So when we come over here to Vegeto, I want to compare Vegeto, and again, they have reasons why they could be compared. Leader skill wise, very similar. Vegeto is a little bit more restricted, obviously. This one's a little bit better. That doesn't mean you wouldn't use Vegeto if you had him, but if you had both, I'd probably consider using this because it doesn't limit you color wise, you know, stuff like that. But attack and defense up and causes immense damage to the enemy. So here's how Vegeto works, though. Great chance to launch up to 2 additional attacks. So I believe the calculations were 100% on the first additional. Yeah, Vegeto has a 100% chance to launch an additional attack and a 70% chance to launch a second one. Each of them has a 25% chance to become a super attack. Not to mention the fact that he has that 4th attack potential, which also has the potential to be a additional super attack from the potential system. So he can launch up to 4 attacks, up to 4 super attacks in best case scenario. I don't know if he'd actually rattle them all off, because he probably would clear the content by then, but who knows, right? So great chance to launch up to 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance to become a super attack, and he gets attack plus 15% with each attack performed up to 150%. So here's the deal. 150% is a really massive gain, first and foremost. That is a really massive gain, especially when coupled with a unit that has a key multiplier this high. 160 is massively high. This unit only has 150. That actually makes a really big difference. So there's that, right? So this unit, he is meant to be what he is. And I think people kind of don't understand the way that this unit works otherwise. No, he does not need to launch super attacks in order to get this additional 15%. Yes, he does cap at 150%, which means after 10 attacks he would get here. But each super attack he would do would also, again, raise his attack and defense by that 20% margin. So if he's launching 2 to 3 supers every turn, he's gaining on both areas, right? And this is where he gets his only defense from, by the way. Keep that in mind. I'm going to come back to that. But he's gaining in both areas. So again, he is meant to be what he is, and that is one of the most damaging and powerful units in the game. But the game is, it's veered in a direction, and I've talked about it a lot. It has veered in a direction where the game doesn't only care about damage anymore. Of course, with the way that teams are structured, unfortunately, when you have so much HP, some teams get over 600,000 HP now. It's insane, so it doesn't really matter if you have the defense anymore, but typically, a lot of the new units have a nice blend. I'm looking at you, Jiren. I'm looking at you, Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. I'm looking at you, Future Gohan. And a lot of the new units, you know, the Android 17 that just came out, like all of them, they have a blend of offense and defense. And Vegeto is a relic from the time, even the new Goku, right? Vegeto is a relic from the time where it was all offense. So he gets his defense from these super attacks. So that's the biggest issue with this guy. I found a lot of issue using him on things like Super Battle Road. I found out that the STR and physical, for that matter, Vegetos were a lot better just because of the natural defenses that they have in things like Super Battle Road, where you don't really have that problem with the Goku in comparison just because he naturally has defenses as well. So again, if you're only looking for offense, obviously you veer this way, but I think you've probably caught on that I'm going to point out that the defensive side of things is way better as far as this Goku is concerned due to the way that the unit functions. He doesn't become an all-or-nothing offensive unit until the final phase anyway, which when we start looking at the calculations, it's calculated that he's going to have that for 33% of the time, right? So that's how this broke down. So on the Super Saiyan 3 category team, I don't believe I showed this yet, but if I did, forgive me. He's trying to give the units the benefit of the doubt. He's talking about this unit and the Goku and the Frieza, excuse me. To give these units the benefits of the doubt, their transformation is treated as if they were every main rotation. This means that they are to assume to be present on every other turn instead of every third turn. So pretty much every time there's an opportunity to transform, they would take it and they would transform. So that's how it broke down. So the way that he factored in the average attack for these units is for this unit and the Frieza, which I'll come back and do a Frieza and Rose comparison as well, was that, again, every chance it was possible, they did the transformation. So when it comes to the links that were active, Fierce Battle, Super Saiyan, and Experienced Fighter, or whatever, Veteran Warrior, up for 50% of the time, and then 100% uptime on the other two. And then all in all, he gets to 1.8 million attack stat, with factoring in the guaranteed critical hit and a +5 additional attack chance. So that is pretty interesting. So again, the free level 5 and then the guaranteed crit from the Super Saiyan Blue form. So again, these are free dupe levels, right? So of course the number can go way up at rainbow level. But when we come to this guy, his average attack stat is literally 1 million higher with only Super Saiyan and Super Fierce Battle active. The notes are that he performs the 2 attacks, 100% chance and a 70% chance. Then he has a 25% chance for those attacks to be a super attack. And his passive gives him an average buff of pretty much 100% attack. And because, you know, he starts clearing the content pretty fast. They're saying it gets to about 100% on average. And then the super attack base increase gives him an average buff of 71% to his SA multiplier. So that's pretty disgusting. So he's getting a lot of boosts. So again, I don't know. I kind of, part of me feels like this was calculated at rainbow level, but I don't think it was. Maybe for Vegeto here it was. Yeah, it is. So they factor these units at non-rainbow levels, just free levels, like I thought. But when it came to this guy, he's factored at rainbow level, and he's barely out damaging at rainbow versus this. But again, the defensive valuability is way better for this unit, so it's not really a which is better. But again, The Goku falls off heavily in comparison to Vegito offensively, but Vegito can't hold a torch to Goku defensively. So when it comes down to it, the calculations were done under their best category teams, which would be Super Saiyan 3, and then for this guy, it would be the Potara, I believe. So that's what they were considering these units under, and that's how it all broke down. So again, Vegito is interesting because he has a couple of counterparts that have aged, well, the physical ones actually aged really well because counters are such a good ability. But STR Vegito Blue will be really, really good in this game for a really, really, really long time. And I kind of feel like the TEQ one, if we ever, right? Because right now, sometimes Extreme Awakens are hard. More recently, they haven't been. Battlefield's not on global, so I don't really talk about that a whole lot. Super Battle Road is the only real factor, and I don't want to base the game off of Super Battle Road, but I kind of feel like if we ever get Dokkan Fest, which are the main content of this game that are harder to do, which I understand why they don't do them that hard, because if you're a new player and you pull the new unit, obviously you're going to want to try to awaken it, which sucks for the player base that wants it to be a little bit harder. If they ever do that, right, maybe we see a decline for TEQ Vegito Blue. Even though the game is transitioning into wanting more defensive-oriented units, it doesn't seem to matter a whole lot right now, so we'll have to see how it ages in the future. But I can tell you that Goku, and for that matter Frieza, when we come to talk about him and Rose, will always be really, really good, just because they're doing a little bit of both, and they are above average at both, I would say. So there's that. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Hope you all enjoy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Again, it was more of a comparison. I might title it as a which is better, because in some scenarios I do talk about where they're better at than the other. But otherwise, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Do you agree with what I said here? Are there things that I missed out on? And all that other stuff. So have an awesome day. If you found this enjoyable, make sure you leave a thumbs up, and I will catch all of you in the next one.